Hello, I'm Stacy Keach. Join me right now for Mysterious Places as we travel to the jungles of Mexico.
An anthropologist tours an ancient observatory. A family discovers the ruins of a once sacred temple. A team of workmen excavate a buried pyramid. Each has come upon a vital element in an age-old mystery, a mystery involving extraordinary architecture, secret rituals, and human sacrifice. It is a mystery of a land, a people, a culture which once thrived deep in the jungles of Mexico. This is Chichen Itza.
In the mid-19th century, explorer Augustus Le Plongeon arrived in Mexico's Yucatan. He began excavating the great Mayan city of Chichen Itza. A quiet man, Le Plongeon quickly gained the respect of the local Mayan. They confided in him many of the secret rites passed down from their ancestors. And what they relayed was a world of indescribable beauty and of inexpressible horror. These words resonate as we begin our own exploration of the lost city of Chichen Itza.
The ruined city of Chichen Itza rises up from the jungle. It is expansive, formidable, and a source of endless fascination for those wishing to probe its history and mystery. To do so, they must venture approximately 120 miles west of Cancun, Mexico, into the remote jungles of the Yucatan Peninsula. Throughout the Yucatan, we discover many Mayan cities which thrived between 300 and 1200 AD. Of all these cities, none is quite as ambitious or impressive as Chichen Itza. It is believed that the early inhabitants of Chichen Itza were drawn here because of this sacred cenote, or natural well. According to some researchers, like Carlos Villanueva of the Maya Foundation, Chichen Itza became one of the most important sites of the ancient Maya.
Chichen Itza wasn't a holy city from the old times, but wasn't a political, but in Chichen Itza, they received the political power who had an incredible influence in the north area of the Mayan world.
The great ruins of Chichen Itza, Mexico, extend over 2 square miles. The site itself can be divided into 3 sections: the northern group, the southern group, and Old Chichen. Together, they encompass several hundred buildings and other ruins. While these structures are both imposing and beautiful, upon closer inspection, they reveal a darker side. Scenes of war and death, even human sacrifice. What do these images tell us about the people who lived here? Was Chichen Itza a city of warriors, a sacred ceremonial center, or both? Archaeologists have been trying to decipher the answers for nearly 2 centuries. The earliest explorers found much of Chichen Itza in a state of ruin. Artist Frederick Catherwood captured his impressions on paper in the 1840s. Then, in the early 20th century, archaeologists began reconstructing the ruins. As they did so, a picture began to emerge. It was of a city which evolved over hundreds of years and encompassed several different cultures. We begin our own investigation of the early Mayan culture at one of the oldest parts of the ruins. It is known as Old Chichen. A path cuts through a 1-mile stretch of untamed jungle. Yet the adventurous among us are well rewarded.
Well, look at the hieroglyphics.
This was once an ancient temple. All that remains is the foundation, and it too lies in ruins.
Look, here's his mouth. His mouth. No. Looks like a headdress.
Researchers have deciphered one of the hieroglyphics here. They date it at 897 AD. It is the only date recorded at Chichen Itza. Is this when Chichen Itza was built? Researchers believe the city dates back several hundred years earlier, so the significance of 897 AD remains a mystery. Old Chichen offers many other examples of early Mayan architecture, but to uncover one of the most important and mysterious structures at Chichen Itza, we move just northwest to the central group. This is El Caracol, which in Spanish means the snail. It is so called because of its circular shape. It is the only such round structure in Mexico's Maya region. Could this have been an ancient astronomical observatory? Carlos Villanueva believes so.
We're on the top of the temple, name it the observatory, or the El Caracol, that means a snail. So we call the snail because the structure inside, it's like a labyrinth. And the Mayans from the old times, they built this kind of a structure for watch the sky. At night, the Mayan astronomers, for every door and every window of this structure, they saw different parts of the sky. And for that reason, the Mayans, they study perfectly the star movements, the moon, the sun, etc., etc. So every door has a special orientation. Like this door, this is orientated to the south. When we go outside, we could see an incredible temple, very old time, from the old times, named Nunnery, in the old part of Chichen Itza.
Like many ancient cultures, the Maya led a rich ceremonial life. Calendars were an important tool for planning everything from wars to politics to agriculture. So it is likely that this observatory was indeed used as a calendar. Uses for other buildings in the old section of Chichen Itza remain far more elusive. The Spanish conquerors called this building the Nunnery. Above the east door of the building, we discover more hieroglyphics. Many believe that they reveal the purpose of this building, but scientists have been unable to break their code, so for now the nunnery remains a mystery. There are, however, other carvings at Chichen Itza that seem to offer more vivid insights into life here. Archaeologist Peter Schmidt.
You have scenes of war and sacrifice, and apparently they appreciated this aspect of their culture and very much made use of it, definitely.
Most experts agree these scenes of war and sacrifice emerged during the reign of the Toltecs from approximately 925 to 1224 AD. A fierce warrior tribe, the Toltecs came down from central Mexico and took over Chichen Itza. It became their city. They centered their culture in the northern section. Here we discover some of the most impressive structures in all of Chichen Itza. We also find a synthesis of Mayan and Toltec cultures. There is the Castillo, or Temple of Kukulkan, a towering pyramid topped by a mysterious temple. The ball court, with its depiction of fierce competitors playing to the death. The Temple of the Warriors, an enormous building with 1,000 columns. And the skull platform, wrapped with rows of spiked skulls. We also see the Toltec influence in various architectural details. There are the reclining idols known as chakmuls, and all around carvings of the feathered serpent known as Quetzalcoatl. What role did these structures play in the violent reign of the Toltecs? Were they used for human sacrifice? When we return, tales of war and ritual death in the city of Chichen Itza.
Stay with us as we continue our investigation of Chichen Itza, Mexico.
Here's a mysterious places travel tip. Chichen Itza lies just off Route 180, which runs east-west across the Yucatan. It is a popular day trip from either Cancun or Merida. For those wishing to stay overnight, there are several charming hotels near the ruins.
We're back in Mexico at Chichen Itza, the city of warriors.
On a sunny day, people crowd the center of Chichen Itza. They come to witness for themselves the ruined grandeur of this once great city. They also come to hear the history of Chichen Itza, both real and imagined, especially legends which involve the blending of Mayan and Toltec cultures.
But this one here absolutely is wider. The Toltecs is the tall peoples and big feet. Also in that pyramid, all the steps is wider steps. Why? Because this pyramid in the front to us is the Toltec. This is the only place in Yucatan is mixed Maya and Toltecs.
Other legends of Chichen Itza involve stories of ritual sacrifice. Evidence supports some of these stories. It has been said that the Mayas threw women and children into the sacred cenote as sacrifices to the rain god. Indeed, excavations of the well have uncovered human bones along with many ritual objects. Yet other stories of human sacrifice aren't as easy to prove. Ball courts are found throughout the Maya Empire. The one at Chichen Itza is among the largest, over 420 feet long. 2 buildings are positioned at either end. It is believed the king and nobles watched the game from these platforms. Clearly, it was an important activity. Yet how was the ball game played? What were the rules? Were the losing players sacrificed, as some believe? Some researchers claim the players scored by knocking a ball through the stone ring without using their hands, a task which to today's visitor appears impossible. For that reason, many disagree with this theory. Most do agree, however, that the ball game was played for more than just sport.
We do know that the ball court game was strongly connected with ritual. There was some in central Mexico and the Gulf Coast, and in Chichen Itza. It was connected with human sacrifice in the form of beheading.
Evidence to support this can be found in a wall carving at the ball court. Here, one of the players holds a severed human head. Blood shoots from the neck. This is symbolized by corn leaves. Corn was considered sacred to the ancient Mayan culture. The blood of sacrificial victims was offered as nourishment to the gods so the corn would continue to grow. It is therefore conceivable that some ball players were sacrificed, not necessarily the game's losers, since it was an honor to give up one's life to the gods. Some experts believe that it was the winners who were actually sacrificed. According to legend, prisoners of war were routinely sacrificed to the gods. In fact, the Temple of the Warriors seems to have been dedicated to war and sacrifice. Here, we discover images of proud Toltec officers etched into the columns. The temple also holds 2 elements associated with human sacrifice, an altar-like slab and a stone idol known as the Chakmul. Some researchers believe people were sacrificed on this table. The priest would slice open the victim's chest. The beating heart was torn loose and placed in the Chakmul's sacred basin. The bodies were then rolled down the steps, their skulls eventually displayed on the skull rack. While it is likely that human sacrifice occurred at Chichen Itza, it wasn't a random act. The priests planned these events using astronomy, which brings us to one of the most important buildings at Chichen Itza, the Castillo. Many experts believe that, like El Caracol, the Castillo was built for astronomical reasons, that it is, in essence, a Mayan calendar. The proof, they say, can be found on the 4 faces of the pyramid. Each side has 91 steps. 91 multiplied by 4 equals 364 steps. Add on the platform itself, and the total comes to 365. There are 365 steps, or 1 for each day of the year. This most likely helped them plan all important events. While some disagree with this calendar theory, there's no denying the Castillo was an important structure. During the 1930s, archaeologists excavated inside the pyramid. They came across several chambers and staircases. They also discovered various artifacts, including this, a magnificent jaguar with jade eyes. We do know the jaguar was an important deity. What we don't know is why it was hidden here and what part it may have played in ritual. Overall, it would appear that Chichen Itza was predominantly a ceremonial city, but it wasn't the only place where the Maya of this area worshipped. Ancient caves and secret rites when we return.
We'll be right back with Mysterious Places. We now continue with Mysterious Places.
This is Balancanche Cave, which in Mayan means hidden throne. For hundreds of years, the cave, which is located just 2.5 miles east of Chichen Itza, was sealed off to the outside world. But in 1959, Balancanche Cave was rediscovered and reopened. Today, those bold enough to venture into this black labyrinth discover nature at its most haunting. Deep inside, they also discover a strange circular chamber. Dominating this chamber is a massive pillar formed from mineral deposits over thousands of years. The base of this pillar forms a platform on top of which we find a collection of ancient vases, jars, and incense burners, and there are more throughout the cave. Why were these vessels placed here, and what did they hold? Humberto Criollo is a local guide.
We understand some information from archaeologists that the Maya from the old times put these things there as an offering to the rain god, Chak.
Archaeologists believe the vessels were used to hold one of the most precious commodities the Maya possessed, corn.
The smaller artifacts represent the offerings, because the ancient Maya used these vessels to hold corn, which was the offering to the gods.
Today, the Mayans still consider Balancanche a sacred and indeed mysterious shrine. Locals believe it is haunted by spirits.
I live above the cave, and several times I heard strange noises, laughing, screaming. These noises came out of the cave. They were from the Mayan dwarf, which is something like an ancient spirit.
So strong is this belief in the supernatural that a ceremony was held in Balancanche Cave when it reopened in 1959. The modern worshippers asked for protection for all who entered the cave without permission of the gods. The discovery of Balancanche Cave opened a whole new chapter in the book of Chichen Itza, a book which is still being written. Major excavations continue throughout various sections of Chichen Itza. For archaeologist Peter Schmidt, the main concern is reworking sites which were left unfinished by early explorers. Schmidt and the other archaeologists at Chichen Itza have uncovered pyramids, staircases, and sacred roads. They've discovered skeletons, pottery, and other ancient artifacts. They hope these new discoveries will ultimately help solve more of the mysteries at Chichen Itza. For now, the sprawling city with its tales of blood rites, secret ceremonies, and ancient lives remains a dramatic and enigmatic presence on the Yucatan landscape. Here, images of Chichen Itza, both tranquil and savage, continue to draw us in. They invite us to enter into an ancient world, a world of beauty, order, and ceremony, so similar, yet so different from our own.
Archaeologists like Peter Schmidt continue to excavate new sites at Chichen Itza. While other Mayan cities in the area, such as Uxmal, may provide their own insights into these ancient architects, the evidence at Chichen Itza is unique. For it is here that the Maya are seen not as the sole inhabitants, but as just one of the many groups who left their mark, who worked and prayed and turned jungles into cities. Until next time, I'm Stacy Keach for Mysterious Places.
Mysterious Places travel provided by Mexicana Airlines.